Hey friends, Mr. Spitzer here, and today is day 7 of our fantasy unit. Today we are going to add on to what we just did in our previous lesson. Before we were tracking reoccurring or repeating items, objects, or ideas, and today we are going to try to determine a theme. Remember, theme means the meaning or message that you can find within your story. So today's lesson is about finding themes, and a really common theme that you find in literature is the idea of good versus evil. So I'm in my Google Classroom right now. I'm going to open up the lesson document and the Google Forms. So lesson 7, our teaching point today says, often in fantasy novels, a dominant theme emerges of a struggle between good and evil. Knowledgeable readers often analyze how that theme plays out in their particular novels. So you can see my example here of my graphic organizer. And what we are doing is we are splitting up the characters in our story into either good characters or evil characters. Now, if you're not quite sure if they're good or evil, or maybe they're both good and evil, you can put them in either column. It says you could put it in the middle of your chart too. In my case, I have my good characters are Davian, Asha, and Wer. And my evil characters, I'm still unsure about Ilseth, but I think he's more evil. And Akian Daviad is definitely an evil character. Now, when I make this distinction between good characters and evil characters, I need to back that up with text evidence, and we know how important that is. So you notice that I have my evidence down here. They're direct quotes right from my story. I hope that you provide direct quotes too. I have my quotation marks at the beginning and my page numbers at the end. And then our challenge question today, our deeper thinking question, it says, what life lessons can we learn about good and evil in the world from these characters and this story so far? So I said that so far we can see many characters trying to stand up for people less fortunate than themselves. The good characters often put themselves in danger to protect others, even when they could just as easily avoid the problem. This could teach us how the lesson that you should always stand up for what you believe in. So again, we're looking at our good characters and our evil characters, and we're coming up with a lesson that we can learn from reading our story. So I wanted to show you someone else talking and explaining this idea of theme, the meaning or message from our story, instead of me just explaining it and showing you examples. So this Brain Pop video does an awesome job, and I'm going to sit back and let you watch.
Dear Tim and Moby, how do I figure out the theme of a story? And why is finding the theme so important anyway? From Bob A. Thanks for the questions, Bob. A theme is a central message or idea woven into the action of a story. Themes give a story meaning by linking the fictional world with our own. They comment on issues from our everyday lives and from the wider culture. They're a huge part of what makes films and literature so fascinating. If you've ever read a fable, you already know a simple type of theme. Fables always include a moral, a lesson about life. Take the tortoise and the hare. The hare is always bragging about how fast he is, so the tortoise challenges him to a race. The hare is so confident, he stops to take a nap halfway through. Slowly, but surely, the tortoise passes the hare and wins. It might seem like the story is all about speed and running. The larger message is that patience and determination pay off. The race is used to communicate a lesson that can be applied to real life. Themes are usually more subtle in movies and novels. It's easy to be wowed by spaceships, aliens, and princesses, and those are essential parts of the Star Wars story. But to find the themes, we have to read between the lines. Well, not literally. We have to look for patterns or ideas that come up frequently. The repetition of a word or phrase is a good sign you're onto a theme. We call those recurring words or images motifs. The Force is one big motif in Star Wars.
And so when we were able to track an item, an object, or an idea within our fantasy story, we were looking for motifs, and later on we were using those things that we tracked in order to determine a theme found within our story.
We learn more about its symbolic meaning each time it's mentioned. Well, like at the beginning, the Force seems to be just a magical power. But over the course of the series, we learn that it's much more than that. It's a universal energy that connects all living things, and a spiritual balance between light and darkness. Themes are often set up as pairs of opposing ideas, like with the Force. At its most basic level, it represents the struggle between good and evil, but it's also about nature versus technology, the tension between instinct and logic, or the choice between freedom and destiny. And they sound complicated, but those themes are all right there in the movie. We find them by analyzing the story elements. For example, we can examine lines of dialogue, what the characters say. Like when Darth Vader calls the Death Star a technological terror. Then he says the colossal weapon is nothing compared to the power of the Force. His comments set up technology and nature as opposing ideas. Plot, the action in a story, is another great place to hunt for themes. Okay, Moby-Wan, I will use the Force. I will trust my intuition. We did it, R2. We destroyed the Death Star. Right, Luke is successful because he relies on the Force. His natural instincts are victorious over destructive technology. Well, in a great story, all the elements work together to support the themes. Look at the settings in Star Wars, where the action takes place. The Death Star is massive and spotless.
Like a lot of advanced technology, it feels sinister and cold.
So if you want to watch the rest of that video, the link is actually right here in my graphic organizer on that Word document that I had shown. And here we have our Google form that you're going to fill out after reading. So again, make sure you're filling out your name, the title of your book, how many pages you read. The first question says, in a complete sentence, who are some characters in your book that you would describe as good? So I don't want people to just list their characters. So in my case, I'm not just going to say Davian and were. I want to put it in a complete sentence. So make sure you rephrase the question and give your answer. The next one says text evidence. Use a sentence from your story that shows you that the character you listed above would be considered good. Remember to copy the line exactly from your book. Use quotation marks and include a page number. The next part says, in a complete sentence, who is a character in your book that you would describe as evil? Again, we're not just listing a character name here, we're writing a full sentence. You're again finding text evidence in order to back up your claim that the character is evil. And then our challenge question for the day says, after reading for 30 minutes, what life lesson about good and evil can you learn from your story? So what message is the author trying to teach you? Do your best, and if you have any questions, my office hours are from 10 to 11. Again, this is lesson 7 of our fantasy unit. Just a few more. I hope you're enjoying your fantasy novels, and I look forward to seeing you during my office hours. Bye, everyone.